58 days, 12 hours and 30 minutes. That's how long it took for Intrepid 232 to row across the Atlantic. Not only did this crew of 4 mums from Jersey complete what has been dubbed the world's toughest row, but they broke the world record to become the oldest female Fours crew to row across an ocean. Helene Monpetit, Rosemary Satchwell, Alison Smithurst and Julie Brady, whose ages add up to that special 232, joined me to discuss the highs and lows of their incredible feat, from rowing through calm waters at night to unpredictable weather patterns which brought them to a standstill in those final weeks. Welcome and congratulations, first of all. It's an incredible achievement, not only to row the Atlantic, but now to receive bailiff's medals. It's fantastic. So thank you so much for coming in. And it was about 9 months since you first came in last year to talk to us all about the training and how it was going. And so I wanted to start with asking about how you felt going into the race and coming off the back of that training. Do you feel like you'd done enough? Were you prepared going into it? What were the thoughts like at the beginning?
I don't know if you can ever actually prepare yourself for rowing the Atlantic. I mean, we did what we could, given the summer that we had. The weather was quite unpredictable. And with the amount of obstacles, so rocks, etc., around Jersey, we were very limited in the windage that we could go out in. So we could only really go out and train in Force 3 or very low Force 4. So, no, we couldn't prepare enough for that. I mean, sometimes we had Force 7, Force 8 winds out there. So, but then we had no obstacles. So it's a very, very different beast, if you like.
And when you started on that race day in Canary Islands, how were you feeling then? Were you terrified? Was it something you were quite excited to get on with it after all that time?
Quite excited actually.
Yeah.
It was we'd had 2 weeks in La Gomera, so you just want race day to come so that you can just start. Because the more you're hanging around, the more you start thinking about other things and start fiddling with things and thinking of anything else that you could do. So it was just nice to get in the boat and set off.
Although race day did change a couple of times while we were there.
Yeah, so tell me about how that happened. So it was bad weather and then it got pushed a little bit and then it was still bad weather when you started.
They wanted sufficiently clear weather that we would get away from the islands. And they had different models of wind that they were looking at the time, and one would say that we could go in 2 days and then it would change. So we had meetings at 9 o'clock each morning. All of the crews had meetings at 9 o'clock each morning. And then we'd find out what the next predicted date was. So yeah, it changed from day to day.
You have to take into account the solos, wasn't it? That was for them to be able to get off from the island. So it was really important that the wind conditions were correct for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess sort of the anticipation builds in those days, and after so long, gaining sponsorship and sort of getting to that start line, it must have been maybe a bit agonising with those days to keep going past.
It was the unpredictability of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, why don't you tell me about some of the gory details I think people want to know? So, firstly, the fatigue. People have been saying, how did it work with rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off? Is that what you did? And how did you deal with doing that? Helen?
So we had a bit of a rota, so you weren't rowing with the same person all the time. Okay. You got to row, so I got to row with Rosemary and Alison. I couldn't row with Julie because she was in the same cabin with me. So the idea is that whoever isn't rowing gets a chance to get some rest in the cabin by themselves. But yeah, so we went into 3 hours first of all. And that was nice because then you got a full 3 hours to sleep, which was really luxurious. And then the conditions got quite extreme quite rapidly, so we felt that 3 hours on the oars was a bit too much to deal with, so we then reduced it to 2 hours on and 2 hours off. And surprisingly, I think the others will agree, I think we all adapted to that quite quickly.
Yeah. Interesting. And what kind of toll does that take on your body? Were you really tired, or did you feel like you settled into the rhythm of it?
I think maybe we all had different experiences. I kind of felt that I had settled into it quite well. But the worst part is when your timer or alarm or whatever you've set goes off and you're thinking, oh, I'm nowhere near land, I have to get up, and you put on your wet clothes and go out in the dark. But it's initially, I suppose, the first 10 minutes after waking up. But once you're on the oars, it's absolutely fine. Nighttime was the hardest bit.
Yeah, I can imagine. Were there any instances of, sleeping over alarms or people having to fill for other people?
Certain people, certain people more than others.
And you mentioned sort of not sleeping and then rowing with the same people. So throughout the journey, were there any kind of disagreements amongst yourselves, or you're nodding your head, Julie.
There were words, but nothing that.
A few little niggles here and there, but that's just because people are tired, or for various. But there was no arguments. There was nothing horrible. There was no bad feelings or anything. It's just the initial people are a bit tired, and it's can you hurry up and do this? And it's, I'm doing my best sort of thing. And
just remember, you're on a boat that's 9 meters by 1. 4 people. It's a tiny space for a long, long time. So we did really well.
I don't think there were any incidents that were any worse than any of the meetings we had. Oh, because we talk to each other. Basically, we've spoken to each other every day. So
and you're still speaking.
You're going to have exactly. You're going to have differences of opinion and things you need to get off your chest. So, nothing lasted long at all.
There was one incident when I thought I might fall out with Julie. She had to do number 2 in the bucket, and it was a bit rough. The seas were quite rough, and she fell off the bucket, and the contents of the bucket went all over my trainers.
Oh no!
In the footwell everywhere. Yeah, it took a while to clean that all up, didn't it? Bless you.
But I got over that. I got over it. It's fine.
And sort of now that you're back, do you feel like you've really bonded? Is these like a friendship that you think you'll have for life now that you've done this together?
I think
I mean,
so.
we were good friends.
Yeah.
We were good friends before,
Beforehand,
and we're still really good friends.
Yeah.
We probably know each other in slightly different ways, but we were, because we'd gone through a sort of 3-year build-up to everything, seeing each other a lot, throughout the whole campaign. We'd always taken the view that if, share your feelings, share your emotions. If you're worried about something or excited about something, just talk about it to the others, and just try and be as open as possible, which I think we tried to adopt the whole way through the race, really.
And I don't think any of us are the sort to shy away from anything. We're just going to say it. But equally, it's an experience that the 4 of us will only have. We can't, explain the whole thing to anybody with the best will in the world. It's something that we share, and we will always have shared.
Yeah.
No, it's really special as well, I think, with them. It's something that not many people have done, and that you can say that you've done. And tell me about food. I think this is a question that a lot of people are asking. Firstly, where did you store it? What did you eat? And was it fresh? We heard about the egg situation. Can you tell us that story again?
On you go.
Basically most of us have to consume about 4,000 calories. I think, Helen, you're slightly... 3,000 calories. So they're stored in lockers. So we have all our individual lockers, the actual rehydrated food. And we also have snack packs. So technically it's supposed to be eating 3 meals a day, but I don't think any of us managed 3 meals a day. It was too difficult to do that.
Well, you did.
So not 3 meals, no. So two meals in a snack pack. And then we bought some fresh food on board, oranges and...
The oranges were amazing,
and bits and pieces.
Yeah, they were.
How long did those last? Was that just a week or so?
About 10 days, I reckon.
About a week or so.
Yeah.
Or just over a week, yeah.
And then you had your tomatoes, so that was quite interesting. There was a lot of bartering going on with food, which was quite interesting. It was sort of like after the first week, it was like, can I have a bag of your McCoy's cheese and onion crisps? Well, what are you going to give me then?
The first barter was Percy Pigs for a bottle of Gaviscon tablets. So I had the Percy Pigs, but I needed Gaviscon. She wanted the Percy Pigs and had the Gaviscon. So that was the very first barter.
You're right, actually,
and that was day 2.
That was day 2, that was right. Yeah. And then moving it, so I had 6 eggs left in the Gamera, so I boiled those up. And just for the first week. And somehow one managed to escape in the cabin, I'm not sure how. And then there was this awful smell coming out of the cabin because it gets like really hot in the cabin. So about day 3, it was just like, oh no, it's just like something not quite right here. We got a dead mouse in there or something that's managed to creep on board. And then for further explanations, we looked in the mattresses, and there was just basically there's a rotten boiled sort of egg shoved in between the mattresses. And did really smell. So there's a lot of cleaning going on for a little while just to try and get rid of the smell of that one. That's the story of the rotten egg.
At least you could just chuck it over the side and it was gone, but the smell, I guess, stayed for a while. So tell me a bit about what you brought with you. Was there anything that you wish you'd taken that you didn't, that you sort of got halfway across the Atlantic and thought, oh gosh, we should have brought more of this or
More
something
sweets.
of that? More sweets.
More sweets, yeah.
Jellies, more
Yeah,
jellies.
more
See, I
like
wish I'd got
Yeah.
less sweets and more savoury.
And breakfast, remember?
Oh,
Yes,
breakfast.
I didn't take that
Yeah.
many
No,
breakfasts,
did
but
as well.
I was actually fed up of jellies and sweets, and I'd wish I'd taken more savoury snacks.
Yes.
Maybe you were very
biscuits.
generous.
Savoury
with your
biscuits.
generous biscuits. I was delighted.
And you've brought with you the bottle of rum that went all the way across.
We had two.
Oh, you had to.
Kindly donated by the Channel Island Liqueur Company, one of which was for our own consumption, and the other one was to be rowed across to Antigua, and it's back here in Jersey now safely, and we're going to be auctioning it off to raise more funds for our charities.
Brilliant. And tell me a bit about the fundraising as well. So how are you doing with that? Is it, have you raised more than you thought you would? Is it still going?
It's still going. Yeah. So I think we probably couldn't say exactly how much we've raised at this stage because thankfully it's still going.
Brilliant. And you definitely hit the target that you had on your GoFundMe, I think. So that was really nice to see. In those last few days when you were really struggling, the total was going up. So that was something
Yeah,
good.
that's good. And we did have a number of private donations where companies or people didn't necessarily want to do it through that link.
Yes.
So they either contacted us or they actually wanted to give the money direct to the charities because of the way their compliance works.
Yes.
It had to be done like that. So we'll add those into the total, but we certainly can't publicise the companies' names that donated in that way. So we've got a few little bits of totalling to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to share that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually go through each of you one in turn, and if you could just tell me what your favourite moment of the row, if you had one. Don't know who wants to start.
Oh, that's a hard
If there's a
question.
moment that comes to mind that thought,
That's a difficult
I'm going to
question
remember
to
this,
answer.
this is incredible.
I think for me in general it was nighttime. Nighttime rowing so you've got 3 shifts at nighttime because you're doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, and it was the very first shift where it was really, really dark and the stars are out and the water is flat and you're just rowing and it's just incredible. It's so peaceful and relaxing. It's just amazing. No land around, no light pollution, no sounds, nothing. Or we did have music on, so that was quite nice as well. So yeah.
Fantastic.
One thing that really sticks to my mind is because, for the first 10 days when it was, really quite rough and really quite windy and we were thrown into it and it was, quite scary at times, quite exciting and really quite scary at times, but you were, you got quite nervous, hurtling over the waves or seeing these enormous waves coming to you. And I seem to remember about sort of 4 weeks in, going off shift and sat there and seeing this enormous wave coming and thinking, okay, that's fine.
Bring it on, bring it on, yeah.
It's sort of, so for me, that was a pivotal moment thinking, do you know what, actually I'm balancing okay and I'm used to it. I'm not scared by that enormous wave coming because I know that the boat is safe and I know that it's not going to go over. That for me was a pivotal moment, realising that actually these are enormous seas out here and it's only taken a few weeks and I'm now looking at that big wave thinking, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I like Rosemary about the nighttime rowing, but the main thing for me was actually the welcome we got in Antigua when we crossed the finish line. I think that was pretty amazing.
It was a special.
Will hold a special place in my heart, to be honest with you. Yeah, all the locals came out, boat owners came out. It was really cool.
Helen?
I can probably say that going in the water, jumping in the sea, and cleaning under the boat, and then having a bit of a stretch in the sea, and then looking down, thinking there was 5,000 meters beneath us. I would say that's probably stuck in my mind. That's one of the special moments.
Yeah, the blueness of the ocean.
Oh,
is
it was
something that you can't
amazing,
describe.
Such a
it.
deep,
You really
such
can't.
a deep blue.
Yeah.
Was it scary as well? Because I guess sort of, wildlife and things like that. Did you have trouble with any sharks?
So no trouble, but we did have we think it was a swordfish that was following us for a good 4 or 5 hours.
Yes.
And because apparently you get some tuna or smaller fish sheltering underneath the boat, and the swordfish we believe was trying to get to them. So we would try to shake off the fish.
Yeah, we kept on put music.
So we put really loud music on. It was Eye of the Tiger. And then I think Julie or someone came out of the cabin going, what the hell?
I think we were having the two of us having a disco on board.
That was another special moment, I guess.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then we rang Barry to find out what it was. So Barry, how are you on fish? So, yeah.
You've mentioned music a few times now. I wondered, so you had lots of music going on in the boat. Did you have sort of a Bluetooth speaker or something? That
Yeah,
you
we had
Two.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Was there a particular song that really kept you going through tough times?
Oh, we all had playlists.
Yeah.
What is it, Helen?
And some of the playlists got quite tiresome quite quickly.
Well, I have to mention the playlist that was given to us by Atlantic Campaigns.
Oh, that was
that was very entertaining.
Every crew.
We liked it.
Every crew was asked to give a song, and then they put it into a playlist. And honestly, some of them were
Dominic the Donkey.
dire.
What was your song?
Our song was "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. That was our little favourite song.
Brilliant.
But we had we started off with lots of 70s, 80s, and 90s playlists, which we got fed up of really quite quickly. Christmas Day, we had lots of Christmas music. And then Helene, to be fair, had the best selection of music on her Spotify list. So you just did it on shuffle. So we'd have, it wasn't a particular genre each
was a
time.
good
It was
mix.
just a really, really good
But
mix.
but we lost it, didn't
Yeah,
we?
it was going really
Remember,
well
we
till
lost
she lost
it.
Spotify.
You've got to connect to Spotify every sort of 30 days. And
You did connect and then
you
you
did
lost
connect
it again.
and then it
And then
lost
it got wiped out.
Oh, tragedy.
We did like Riders on the Storm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
That
never
was
let
so
me
fun.
sing. I don't know. Like I offered to sing when we did a bit. Like,
Yeah, you'd have
with
gone
the-
overboard.
Just keep on refusing.
Give us a few bars then. Yeah, we didn't know why.
Everybody will realise.
Right, so I was going to go next into that final 10 days week, which was quite a challenging time, I think, for you guys. I know you described it as hell when you got to Antigua.
It was only because it was the we'd been given an estimated date based on our mileage at the time and the weather conditions. So we knew that there was a Tuesday where we might get in, possibly more likely to be Wednesday, but definitely by the Friday. And then it was on the Wednesday where we were told, actually, these weather patterns are such that the wind is not good, and it's likely that you're just going to be holding ground really till about Sunday. We're like, well, we should have been finished by Friday, but now we're not really doing much till Sunday. And then on the Saturday, it's like, yep, Sunday's looking good. By Sunday morning, it might be more like Monday morning before you can really start rowing again. So we'd been on para anchor, we'd been rowing just to hold position. And that just went on the Monday. The weather was supposed to change, but it didn't, so we knew we wouldn't start rowing again till the Tuesday. To find out on the Wednesday that you wouldn't be rowing to the following, properly getting anywhere to the following Sunday was quite soul-destroying. But we got through it, and that was it. It was just the whole chain of that, because it kept changing. The weather pattern was, I think, a weather pattern that the organisers hadn't really seen before, and obviously there already were a number of boats that were in, but it's a big ocean and you're in different places at different times. There was a couple of times when, if we'd got there 2 hours earlier, we might have missed a certain weather pattern, or if we'd been a couple of hours later, we'd have missed a certain pattern. And it was just one of those. And I think that
It was very wet, wasn't it, as well? I think we ended up, those last sort of 10 days, like the cabin was just absolutely...
it was a lot of rain.
A lot of
The
rain.
cabins are so damp.
We were saturated.
So
We didn't
damp.
even have any dry clothes to put on.
You
so
don't feel, I mean,
we were just like, which
nothing
one's the
dry.
least wet?
Yeah.
We'll
None
put that one
of
on.
our clothes were dry, were they?
Yeah.
You try and wash your clothes and put
Yeah,
them to
just
dry.
mould everywhere.
It still doesn't
it's-
feel dry.
So it's pretty, that part was a bit...
Yeah, that was
self-describing.
mixed.
And
Yeah.
as it was going on, we were, not that we were getting more and more injured, but you're getting more and more debilitated because you're getting more and more tired. So you're a little bit down because you're not getting anywhere. Then you're hurting yourself because when you're on para anchor, the boat's still going like this. So you've really got to pluck up courage sometimes to go out of the cabin and think, oh, I need to use the bucket. Which is what it was really. But I think then it just carried on like that. And I suppose by the Thursday there's a very good chance, on the Thursday night, you've actually got to just keep checking the weather every hour. So checking the weather every hour, and Friday morning the wind died down and it was just right, go for it.
Helen came and woke us up.
There was a bird. It was a little bird on deck. I'm sure it was, and I just heard this. Tweet, 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 and
I can remember
so I
you
poked
saying
my
it to
head out
me.
the door. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
no,
making
okay, I
sense.
remember
And then sure enough, the
Looked at
wind
the
had
flags.
reduced. Looked at the flags, and then so I went to wake up Rosemary and Alison. Knock, knock, knock. Come on, girls, let's get this show on the road.
So we looked at each other and went, Really?
Okay.
Let's give it a go.
And what was it like being on para anchor? Can you explain a bit what that is? So are you just sat there, or are you kind of rowing at all?
Well, we had both. Okay,
Both,
so
yeah.
the most painful experience is sitting on para anchor and not being able to row, which is the norm.
Yeah, well, it's a massive parachute
Yeah.
that you put into the sea, so it holds you in position.
So there's two
basically.
lengths of rope. One is 90 metres, one is 75. You have to let all of this rope out. So you have it in a central hatch in the middle of the boat. You have to take it out. You have to set it up. You have to fix the ropes accordingly. Gradually let it out. So all of this takes about 20 minutes, half an hour. That's assuming it all goes according to plan, which it did. Thankfully, we were getting really good at that.
Yes, we were.
And then if it's rough and you're doing it for that reason, then you have to go to your cabins. Now that means that the two of us are sharing a cabin and Julie and Helene are sharing a cabin, so they're fully occupied. So you're in there like in very close quarters in a lot of heat until the para anchor comes back up again. Then there was an incident where it was a day, I think they were getting they wanted us to come in and we wanted to come in. We were getting really fed up. So we were rowing with the para anchor. Normally the para anchor will direct you in the direction that you're going and the rope will be taut. So the idea here was we were rowing a little bit, slacken the rope, the para anchor would go in its own direction and then we catch up. So the benefit there wasn't massive in respect of miles, because we did 2 miles in 8 hours, 2 nautical miles in 8 hours, which was a bit soul destroying. But the benefit was that we were out of the cabin and we were doing some exercise. When we were in the air, and you feel as though you're doing something towards getting to your destination.
And having that routine really helped psychologically.
Yeah.
But what was interesting at that time was that so the wind was against us. However, the power anchor that was under the sea and under the water was actually drifting us towards Antigua in the correct direction.
Yeah.
And
Which
that,
was
I
gonna
think
reasonably
I think the
good,
organisers themselves were quite surprised.
Yeah.
It held us in that position as well, so we didn't end up
So we could just row gently, tap
going
along
backwards,
nicely.
which was really important at the end of the day, just to have those sort of two nautical miles only for about, when you think you've only got 30, 35, it was really important, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to describe that to people. I don't think they quite understand sort of the enormity of that, and us not sort of going back 5 nautical miles when you're that close to Antigua.
Yeah.
It was agonising. We were watching it and sort of you stuck there and then just sort of going, and then you went really far south and then ended up having to climb back
We were the
north.
most southerly crew.
Yeah.
No one else went that
You were
far
going to end
south.
up in the wrong country at one point.
There's not always a lot you can do about it,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest. You're getting pulled in certain directions because you're a little bit limited into how you can do so with the currents and the wind. And
the size of the boat.
They had some very unusual wind patterns. I don't think they normally have quite as many sort of southwesterlies.
No.
And that was quite problematic to get the boat turned and, get back on course.
We're still waiting for those trade winds.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, we're not going to do this, where you thought you were going to have to tap out or call for help or get towed? I don't know, in those final few weeks, because there was just a moment where it looked like maybe it wouldn't happen. And did you ever think?
What to you it looked like?
Well, we sort of, there was a lot of talk on social media, maybe it was wrong.
Because we weren't aware of all this.
Right, so this is funny because there was a moment where it said, you might have to get a tow, and we were all really worried for you, and we were like, oh goodness. But did you ever experience that moment, or?
I think individually, we all wanted to stop at some point. We were like, right, I've had enough, But, had something come, like you were saying yesterday, had somebody come to tow us or rescue us or whatever way they want to put it, we wouldn't have taken it.
We would have said no.
Yeah, I mean, the real difficulties came, I think, at 132 nautical miles, where we're, just rowing and getting absolutely nowhere. So I think at one point I'd be down the oars and said, right, that's it, I'm done. But deep in your soul, you're not going to. You just want to express how you feel.
The organisers, the Atlantic campaigns and the head safety officer, Ian Couch, would not even, unless it's a medical emergency or you're seriously going to get blown onto some rocks or some land, they don't really entertain that, to be fair. So whilst the drama's building, will they, won't they? Because they had that with a couple of crews, actually, when Frank came in, might have had to be rescued. But I think, you've got good communications with the team on land. And, they track you, they know exactly where you are. and they, we had to be guided more route-wise in the last sort of 6 hours because we were a lot closer to land and the wind was still against us. So they just wanted to make sure we stayed on track.
But I remember distinctively when we got to 7 miles from Antigua. Now, 7 miles you think is nothing, and normally it's nothing. And the wind did start to pick up a little bit, and Rosemary was behind me, and I just looked at her. I went, "Let's just hit the road. Let's just get this. Let's just get in now. Yeah. We're not going to let that wind stop us."
Yeah.
And that's why we went in a straight line to the finish, didn't we?
Yeah.
In fact,
the last 12, 14 miles were pretty...
they were quite suspicious how straight our line was.
No, they weren't. But apparently there was a couple of people going, they can't possibly be going that straight. But
it was a shock after several days of sort of not much movement to see you just absolutely go and just go.
That was the determination.
And there was 3 of us rowing as well.
3 up.
For the whole time.
For the whole time.
Yeah, the whole day, literally.
We weren't giving up.
No,
not
you were like, we're making it tonight, and that's it.
Yeah, we never said it.
No, we didn't talk
we all
about
had
it.
In our heads, but we never.
We didn't talk about it because we felt it was going to jinx it. Because we talked about it so many
times. Every time we said something, I hope it doesn't rain, and it would start raining. Oh my gosh, I hope those winds don't. The winds change. Yeah. I hope there's no more big wave. Then it was like the weather gods were listening to us.
I hope we
don't.
So
we just never said anything.
Say anything out loud.
Hope we don't use a power anchor again. It's not 20 times.
And so you're sat here, world record holders, which is an amazing thing to say, and it must be weird to sort of walk around every day now, knowing you're world record holders. Was that on your mind at all while you were doing it? Was it something that was
no?
Not really. Not really. I suppose as it built up.
Towards the end,
towards the end,
towards the end,
sure. But not at the start. It wasn't. It was just
just wanted to get there.
Just wanted to actually sort of achieve and do it. But
But it was never the plan, from the word go. What we wanted to do was row across an ocean. That was it, and then that came much later. When
we became aware of it, or we were told about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's
we could do that. Yeah.
And what kept you going throughout? I mean, because there was a lot of support from the community here on social media. It was going crazy. Was that passed on to you? Were you aware of that at the time?
Some of it, a limited amount. When we spoke to our families, we were told, "Oh, you've got a load of support, and it's absolutely amazing." And when we spoke to Barry from Sharkbait Socials, who was doing all of our social media, we had a few phone calls with him, and we were quite limited to what images we could send through because it was quite difficult to get the satellite link on occasions. But what he started doing was trying to do some screenshots for us about all the messages that were coming in. I mean, it was a 10% probably of what actually came in. But then when we started reading that, we thought, wow, this is absolutely amazing, and that gave us a massive lift, a huge boost.
And Pete did the same.
Yeah, so we had some people sending us images of things that people were saying, and it was really exciting. And we thought, we still had no idea of the enormity of it all, but that was just a massive boost, wasn't it? It really helped to...
Because if people say you've got lots of followers, that's very subjective. It could be 20 people to one person, it could be, hundreds to another. And
I had a photo of my son up in the cabin, and I think you had... you have a lovely photo of Boots and your husband in the cabin.
Yes, I had a nice one. And I had my quotes. I had some little quotes from friends who'd written them on little... stickers, and I would do like a rotation of quotes on the wall in the cabin, and when I was rowing and I'd see Julie sat up in the cabin, I knew she was reading them too.
The Churchill quotes, they're brilliant. It's really good. And my wife did some quotes for me as well. And it did. You'd be amazed at just like an A4 sort of sheet of quotes that
And then a friend of mine wrote me a letter, and on the envelope it actually said, "Only open this when you're having a really shitty day in the Atlantic." And
what did it say? What was the quote?
Oh, well, it wasn't. It was a really nice letter.
Okay.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah, my husband sent me a letter as well, with pictures, and it was good. And I think we actually kept each other going, because we weren't all down at the same time, and I think that's important.
We did, to be fair, I suppose people talk about the last 10 days. But there were some amazing moments as well. And we did have some really good fun out there and quite a lot of laughs.
We did have a lot of laughs.
We saw some of the Christmas Day photos. Looked like you had a great time. And nice weather as well for that day.
That
the
was
weather
lovely.
Was gorgeous.
The weather was really
nice. That was
nice
our first swim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was first swim.
Christmas Day swim.
Even out of Jersey, you can still do your Christmas Day swim.
But it was so warm. It was considerably
water was
warmer than Jersey.
so warm. It was surprising how warm it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know what temperature it was because I don't think
it would have been 20 degrees.
It would have been at least
easily
because you didn't flinch when you jumped in.
Yeah, it was nice.
And it actually got warmer as we got across. There were sometimes when we were cleaning things out or rinsing through some utensils and your hand would go, and you think, actually, that's like really tepid bath.
Yeah.
But talking about temperatures, I had my Garmin on, it would give me the temperature, and during the daytime, so outside would be 36, 37, and I was lying in the cabin, and I looked at the temperature, it was 40 degrees inside the cabin.
And you've got to have the cabin door closed, obviously, for safety purposes as well. So,
And with yours, you had the benefit of the sunshine.
Yeah, and the sun just direct.
We were like mushrooms.
Fantastic. So tell me what it was like to arrive finally after 58 days. Was it just relief, or just you couldn't believe it?
Pure joy.
Yeah, it was
Absolute joy.
Yeah.
I was delighted.
Yeah.
And we had the best welcome you could ever imagine.
It was unbelievable.
And watching the videos, I mean, we were emotional, so I can't imagine what it was
You
like
know,
there.
some you get locals coming up in their little fishing boats.
Yeah.
There's two guys in their little tender. They were spearfishing, and they came right up to us going, "Well done, girls!" And then loads of people on their yachts coming up to us. And it was like a little flotilla at one point.
Oh, it was amazing.
And blowing their horns, and all the luxury yachts as you came in.
When we sort of came right up the channel,
Like competing with each other to be the loudest, weren't they?
Yeah.
So many people
And then they
out
were,
there cheering.
and then the bars. Do you remember the bars?
Oh, the music.
They
We are
stopped
the champions.
eating. They were stopped eating. They all stood up and played "We Are the Champions."
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
you know.
People on land said, "Oh, he thought that was you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
that
I
would be
remember.
nice.
I actually looked at Alison and I said, "Alison, enjoy every single minute because you will never ever have this again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember saying that.
It's true.
I was steering, so I could see up in the corner the fort. Because these guys, unfortunately, I don't know if you could
No,
see.
yeah,
could-
we
were you
were
able
rowing
to
to
see?
them.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were rowing, so I got sort of out of the corner of my eye, all the family and all the supporters and the flags. That
We
was
saw the
Yeah.
Jersey
Yeah.
flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really amazing as well.
It's amazing. And I'm assuming you went straight to a bar or something to get a drink and a
We
meal?
got food.
Yes.
Yeah, we got
What was
food.
the first meal?
It was burger, chips, and a little bit of
But a salad.
Yeah. It wasn't us choosing that, it's
Yeah,
what's
it was-
actually provided to you by
Yeah, fair enough.
Atlantic
And a
companies.
beer. We did have a beer.
And a
We did for beer
Yeah.
and water. Yeah.
And how has it been sort of settling back into normal life? Is it weird to go back to sleeping full nights and things like that?
It's very strange,
It
isn't it?
is very
The
strange.
sleep patterns have been quite tough to get,
Yeah.
you know.
Last night was my first full night's sleep.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And are you still suffering physically? Well, not suffering, but are you still tired, fatigued in your bodies, or are you getting?
And I wouldn't say tired, but I find that some of my muscles disappeared a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of cycling normally, and I've jumped back on my bike, and I'm struggling. Like my legs haven't got the same power, and I think it's because for 2 months we weren't load bearing.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting down, you're not putting any weight on your legs, are you?
Yeah.
So
We weren't doing cardio either.
yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I cycle commute, and not particularly fast, but I found it really, really tricky. Last Tuesday was my first day on the bike, and I kept looking to see if my tyres were flat. I was thinking, this is awful. So I feel my fitness has gone down quite a bit, but that's fine. It'll come back.
You'd think it would be the other way around because you're sort of constantly rowing.
But you're not doing cardio. You're just really
It's
tapping. You're going
endurance.
backwards and
It's
forwards.
all endurance.
Yeah.
It's very sort of slow and steady, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
there was
you're
no
only using
sprinting
certain
going on that way.
muscles.
Yeah. No.
Oh, fantastic. And I think I wanted to end just with reflections now that you're back and you sort of had this honour and you've had the big welcome and it's all starting to settle now. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like you've changed as people? Do you feel like you've got a new perspective?
I don't think I have yet, but it might come. And it's as you say, it's a settling down. I mean, this time last month we were still out there. So I think it'll take a little while to kind of get your head around everything that's happened. So the whole event and the welcome that we've had, the support that we've had, the medals, everything is all just
It's still
buzzing
fresh.
around at
It's
the
still very
moment.
fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'll take, I think it'll
I
take
think
a
you're
little
right.
while for me to
I
get
think
my
she's
head around
right.
it.
Yeah, I'd agree, yeah.
I'm also, we are more mature. I think if you're in your 20s and 30s and that, and you do something like that, it might actually change your outlook on, depending on how you were as a person. But, we're sort of, approaching 60.
Yeah.
And I think we're being more mature in years, but I don't think it would have necessarily changed us dramatically, would we?
Yeah.
I never take my kettle for granted.
That's very true.
You're a changed woman now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A shower and hot water, just being
Yeah.
able to make a coffee or
There's
a cup
two
of tea
simple
when you
things,
fancy.
You know.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate that a lot more,
Certainly
doesn't
does.
it?
Yeah, it does.
And I think when we first spoke, nearly a year ago, well, not quite as long as that, but you mentioned that you were doing this because you wanted to show sort of women of your age that you can do anything and that you put your mind to. And would you say that you feel you've done that and you've shown people that you can do that?
I can't think of that many more extreme challenges that you could do.
No, I hope so. I hope it's inspired some people.
Yeah.
Have you had people come up to you and tell you that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sasha Tate, there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what was amazing down at the Royal Square was obviously we knew obviously a fair amount of people, but there were a lot of members of the public that had just come out to support us, sort of families with the children. I wasn't expecting to see that at all.
And people I hadn't seen for years.
Yeah, same.
Amazing.
But even go out and you go shopping and people will stop you, and just say, well done, you've inspired me. And I'm thinking, well, that's just
that's
lovely.
nice.
It is so lovely.
It's surreal in a
It
lot
is.
of ways, isn't it?
Well, you're not quite sure how to take that.
No.
I take it really well. It's very positive, but how do you arrange your face? You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, because would you say, apart from rowing the Atlantic, would you say that you'd achieve what you set out to do with what you could show?
I think so,
Yeah.
totally.
I don't think we could have done much more.
Yeah,
I don't think so either.
Because we all said we would be the best version of ourselves.
Yes.
And do it to our best ability. We always said that.
And be kind to
and be kind to, and I think we kept to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that for sure. And I think even the Facebook messages or just, all the media messages that we've received have just been fantastic in terms of that, so you've inspired us. So those are all the messages we keep on getting all the time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. So.
And final question, what's next? Is there anything else that you've got on your mind? Challenges?
Not to that level.
No,
not to that level.
I've not really thought too much about it. I'm just sort of taking things slow at the
just
moment.
get back in my room.
There's still a lot to digest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm still plying my way through all my footage. That I've got some footage on the GoPro. I'm trying to look at all that and footage on my phone. That's going to take me a while
And go
to
through
edit.
all the social media messages that we got.
Absolutely.
Yes. Going through
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook because we didn't see it when we were away. So it's really lovely to actually look at the post and read all the messages.
There's a lot.
And have you look at the GoFundMe and see who's, we've got,
Read everything.
because we've got messages on there and we've got people who we yet have to thank.
Yes.
So it's not that we're ignoring people, we just haven't got to it.
We haven't
yet.
got around to it.
Exactly. There's a lot still to do,
Yeah, there is.
particularly in terms of the thank yous.
Yes.
To supporters and definitely to
Our
sponsors.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that we've still got a fair
So
bit
it's,
to do.
we haven't forgotten about them or we're not putting them on the back burner. We're just,
I just
Yeah.
hope
Bit busy at the
hope
moment.
they're proud of us.
so do
I
I.
think everyone's proud of you. Thank you to Helene, Rosemary, Alison and Julie for joining me on this episode of the Bailiwick podcast. Keep up with all the latest news by visiting bailiwickexpress.com or reading our sister publication, the JEP. More next week from me, Kelly Frost, and the rest of the team.